Good morning, everybody. Hope you all are having a great morning. I know some of you are probably on the East Coast. It's probably about 10:30 there. Thank you for showing up for this. It's going to be a basic knowledge on all the new changes that have been happening in not only the gutter guard industry, but also the catalog and some of the materials and how we're trying to adjust those materials so that we don't have to raise prices too much. I think we've already done our price increase for the year. In January, it was the when we sent out the new price sheets in January, the $273 a foot for the, I'm sorry, $373 a foot for the 5-inch and $399 a foot for the 6-inch gutter guard. Is it 99 or 94? I think it's 94. So one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention is on the spec sheet. Obviously, the general basics of Valor gutter guards is it's made with the 020 cold rolled aluminum. This is the same material we use for roof kits and roof caps. Oh, sorry, hang on a sec. Just keep going. There we go. Okay, so this is the same material we use for roof kits and roof caps. You'll see we have all the items listed there. The high flow louver with the high flow series design handle to handle heavy flow of water. The louvers obviously are that way so that water can fall freely through it rather than finding a tray and then working its way out onto or through a hole that's punched in the gutter guard. Most gutter guards that are out there right now that have a full frame have a tray, has to fall onto the tray, and then it finds a hole and works its way out. Ours is unique in the way it's designed so that it doesn't need a tray to land on. One of the things you avoid in that process is you avoid any kind of organic growth because you don't have standing water. You're not going to have mildew and moss that are on it. If you do have a moss situation where it's just unavoidable, there's already moss on the house when you get there to do your estimate, we do have the Moss Away product that you can put a zinc strip in the product for a little bit higher price, and you can eliminate any kind of organic growth throughout the gutter system by putting that that Moss Away system in. If you're in a snow-ridden area, obviously we have the melt away products. We do not sell the cable, FYI. The cable you buy from your local electric house. We're not an electrical company, but we do sell the cover so that the heat can radiate into the frame as it should for ice melting purposes. We're moving away from the colors brown and mill finished aluminum. Those are going away. They'll probably be depleted by midsummer this year. So if you use those products or want those products, I still have it in stock. It'd be a good idea to stock up on them if you want those products. Some of you might have gotten that list. I send out the notification about these changes that are taking place this year. They are all going to be taking place immediately, but like I said, I still have a lot of back stock of the brown and the aluminum. So mill finished aluminum. So if you need it, we will have it again through the middle of the summer, most likely. We also have so the three colors you're going to have available are going to be the brown, the charcoal, and here I go messing it up, the charcoal, white, and colonial gray. And colonial gray is really just replacing the mill finished aluminum. What we found is the mill finished aluminum, if your house is sitting down on a hillside and you have to drive down to it, you get a lot of reflection off the top of the gutter guard. And people were pointing that out, and it was becoming a little bit of a problem. So we decided to put a paint on it. It's a baked on enamel, just like the white and the charcoal, so that we can avoid that reflective property. And it pretty much looks exactly the same. It just doesn't shine. Other than that, we are getting rid of also the extra large mesh. Let me hold that one up to the camera so you can see it. I'm gonna have him switch over real quick. That's the extra large mesh. As you can see, it's very open. It's a very open mesh. Pine needles, Doug fir type, work their way through this type of mesh, along with lots of roof granules. we have been running into issues with that. So we're going to discontinue this this particular mesh to avoid that problem in the future. We will still have the 24 mesh available, which is actually a little bit more ideal for a large mesh situation. It takes plenty of water, so you're not going to have any issues as far as clogging goes, and you're going to have the same throughput as something like this. The surface tension is the same. So just keep that in mind. This one will not be available, but it will also be available probably till midsummer as well. But as soon as we're out of it, we're out of it. So we've got a few people that that use it a lot, so they may be buying a bunch of it, and we may be out of it sooner. So if you need this kind or this size and want this size, please give us a call and get your orders in for that right away. So for the as far as the rest of the products, so where it's going to be available in those two meshes, the 40 mesh, which is the standard mesh, which we should have the 40 mesh available all the way through the end of this year. We might be making a change to that next year and making it slightly bigger to a 30 mesh with a larger gauge wire. The 30 mesh with a larger gauge wire is basically it's more like a 32 mesh. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. The reason we're going a little bit wider is the 40, it works great. Everything's great with it. It's a great product. We just want to make it just a little bit more efficient, and also to keep costs down. We're trying to consolidate how many different screens we use in order to give you the best bang for your buck and not give you so many price increases. If we can buy in bulk in smaller quantities or smaller options, then we can obviously give you a better price because we're buying this particular size in this bulk. So we're kind of trying to combine some things here and get creative and make some changes that will benefit our customers, but not slow you down either. Maybe give you a little bit better a better performance. We obviously still have the flat wing product available, the bent wing product for fascia mount installs. We have the just make sure when you're doing those, we'll get into that in a few minutes here, on installation and how to install it. Still using the 304 stainless steel. Obviously 304 stainless is what is one step below the marine grade stainless steel, which is really for working inside of a human being, surgical steel. You don't need that much nickel in it for it to be effective on a house. So so we are still using the 304 stainless steel. Also a much more cost-effective way to get the product to you that's a quality product that lasts a lifetime without an exorbitant price. Moving on, can you scroll up just a little bit? Our products are all aluminum now. So whenever you're ordering, it'll be all aluminum. The only thing, we'll still have some steel in one color available once in a while. So we'll have charcoal available once in a while for steel, but it's really just a backup for people who might have a situation where they have to replace a panel on a house that's already installed with steel. Let's see, our fire rating has not changed. It's actually I want to talk a little bit about that. Fire code has changed over the last few years for the state of California, but it has now spread across the country. We are now dealing with wildland urban interface, which is basically called WUI standards. These WUI standards means you have to have an A-class fire compliant gutter guard on your house, or in the state of California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Texas, Florida, soon to be North Carolina, Ohio, all have WUI laws now where you need a fire compliant gutter guard on your house if you're in these territories. Most people are in these territories, a lot of mountain area or rural area, meaning you're out near farm areas, things like that. If you are in one of those places, or your customer is, the plastic gutter guards are going to become obsolete over time. Even if they have a burn factor or a burn resistance, it does not matter. They must pass A-class fire compliance which is a 30-minute burn test, which most plastic or vinyls do not pass. So just keep that in mind when you're out there, especially for your salespeople. You're gonna run into these things where they're gonna say, "Oh, well, I'm going to you know, that filter company down the street." You guys probably know who I'm talking about. That gutter guard in many places in California is absolutely obsolete. If they put it on their house, they've just wasted their money. If they're flying drones over houses and canceling insurance, I'll show you an article on that. It's already spread to Ohio. States are begging insurance companies not to cancel. So what's going to happen is they're going to apply these laws to all states eventually. That is my guess. Because they're going to be applied to all states, it's going to affect you as well. And so we are preemptively getting these things out. Now, Valor gutter guards can take a lot of punishment. So 125 mile an hour winds, 110 mile an hour winds, 125 pounds of snow load. It'll take 44 inches of rain an hour if installed properly, and we'll go over what that looks like as we get through this training. Let's go to the next page. So obviously NCR is not around anymore, but we still show people that. So if you need this, we put it on our product knowledge sheets, on our catalogs, things like that. Because when it was a third-party endorsement, it was great endorsement, obviously, and nothing's changed since then. So we're actually doing pretty well as far as nobody's made a better mousetrap yet. Next one. All right, so this is a CAL FIRE, what they've put out here recently, which is when in time and place your roof, replace it with a Class A fire rated roof. Also, that third step right down there says install a non-combustible gutter cover on the gutters to prevent the accumulation of leaves and debris in the gutters. So what happens is in a forest or in a rural area or even in a neighborhood, we had these big fires in Santa Rosa. They jumped from house to house to house, and how that happened was not through anything other than the gutters. So the dry debris that was in the gutters, obviously many houses were close together as well, but the embers would fall in the gutters, catch the gutters on fire. The gutter on fire would get underneath the roof shingles, and then obviously burn up into the house and take the house down. And so this happened over and over and over again, taking down many people's homes. It caused millions and probably billions of dollars for the damage, and could have been avoided in many cases with a gutter guard on their home. So this is why CAL FIRE has put this out. It's also happening in those other states I mentioned, and I think if we get ahead of this, we could actually walk into a situation where when you're in a sales position and somebody's looking at a plastic guard, you can instantly turn them to, hey, look what's happening around the country. I'll give you some articles you can reference and let them know that if you don't have an A-class fire compliant gutter guard on your house and you spend $20,000 for a gutter guard system, obviously they're gonna make you pull it off, put a new one on. Let's not do that. Gives you a lot of power in your sales presentation to direct people steer them in a direction that's going to make sense for them later on down the road, and it proves you're looking out for them. Next slide. All right, this is the WUI territories based on maps. Obviously, you see there's a few there in blue that are almost all WUI. Maine is a big one. So if you're from Maine here today, or Vermont, I know I have some clients that do quite a bit of business in those states. You're gonna run into that everywhere you go. And so as these things, even if you're not a fire-prone state, they are going to require it, because what they have to do is subsidize all the states that are in fire areas. So they're going to preemptively, because you're in a WUI territory, go ahead and raise rates for people in those territories. Like Florida is a flood state, so they're in WUI area in a very light way, mostly coastal. But because that's where most of the damage is, their insurance rates are going to go up probably more than most states, because of the amount of damage that flooding costs, but also because they're going to have to pay fire damage prices too for their insurance, and they must have the insurance for their homeowners insurance in order to get the loan for the home in the first place. So Mortgage companies are being affected. Real estate's being affected. Everybody's being affected by this, and it's kind of the silent thing that's coming through. And I'm just trying to get all my customers and customers around the country selling the Valor Gutter Guard ahead of the curve, so that when it comes down the pipe and it becomes more public, we're already positioned. So the ASTM is the American Society for Testing of Materials. We are the only guard that I know of that has been tested by the American Society of Testing of Materials. It's tested to the standard of E84 and E2768. Make a note of that. It's important. What these standards do is they identify whether or not your guard is going to pass the test for insurance companies. So because we have that already for the Valor Gutter Guard, you're going to be in a very good position, because other companies are going to have to go through that 6 to 12 month process to get theirs certified, and they have to find out where to do that. And it's a long drawn out process. We've already done it. So you have a direct advantage there as well. Next slide. So this is an Ohio Capitol Journal. States beg insurers not to drop climate threatened homes. As you see, that heading changed from fire to climate threatened. That's what they're talking about here. So you'll see the map has changed a little bit down here on the bottom where these climate threatened homes are. And California being pretty dark, but Texas and Florida and Louisiana are obviously very dark in those regions. So they're being affected the most as far as money goes. You see Ohio, there's not shaded very dark, but they're still doing quite a bit of damage there, wildfire and flooding. So they have a kind of a dual component there, and is one of the biggest markets in the world for gutter guards. So just FYI on that. You'll see Chicago is going to be a very important territory. That whole Illinois state is going to be an important territory, and all the central Midwest and East. So keep in mind when you're out there, these things are really important. I think it's going to give you a value and a step ahead of everybody else that is going to be unmatched. Next. So the 16 mesh is the one we're getting rid of. You'll see that one there on the bottom. The 24 mesh and the 40 mesh are the two screens we're going to continue to sell. So again, like if you need the 16 mesh, go ahead and order that soon. It will probably be gone again by the middle of summer. Next. So let's talk about pitch. So the pitch of the guard has been a ongoing issue throughout installation. What's happening is installers will come to work for a company. They're brand new. They don't know what pitch to put the gutter guard at. They assume they can just stick it underneath the shingle. It doesn't matter the pitch. You'll notice I put the pitch standards there. I don't go above a 412 pitch. I know that seems pretty low. You can get away with a 5 or 612 pitch if the roofing material is a certain type. So if it's comp shingle, sometimes you can get away with it. It depends on the design of the roof. You really have to use your judgment. I recommend starting at 412 pitch, go to bent wing, make sure that it's a sure fit. When you do use a bent wing, you need a 1/2 inch clearance from the drip edge to the top of the gutter in order to install that flat. So if you have a little bit more room than that, you can actually give it a pitch. My recommendation is that it's at least 11-degree pitch on the lower pitched roofs, and at least an 8-degree pitch on the higher pitched roofs. And you'll see that as explained in that diagram where it says on the good column. On the best column, 19 degrees is most optimal. So if you're at a 412 pitch, or you're on a flat roof, you still want the gutter guard sitting at a 412 pitch. So if you have room to give it a 412 pitch on the back side there, enough room on the drip edge, I suggest you do it, because what happens is because you're putting a pitch on it, the water's going to go through it much easier, because that's how it's designed to work, and the debris is going to shed off easier. If you put it in flat, obviously you're going to, when the wind stops, the rain stops, all the debris stops as well. And so you're going to have debris on top of the gutters, and they will need to be maintenance more often. Now, a lot of you guys are out there selling this as a maintenance-free gutter guard. I recommend you do not do that. No gutter guard on the planet is maintenance-free. And so automatically you're putting your customer in a bad situation. So if you're doing that, my suggestion is it would behoove you to not do that, and let people know that there is a little bit of maintenance on every gutter guard, especially if you have an inside corner on a 412 pitch or lower. You're going to have the same debris that's there every year on those types of roofs, whether it's got a gutter guard on it or not. And when you put a gutter guard on and you spend $6,000 to $10,000 on a gutter guard system, you start looking at your gutters and start paying attention to those things. And if you don't preemptively let your customer know, hey, look, this is what you have on your roof today is going to be on your roof next week, after a gutter guard's put on. However, it's not going to clog your gutters, but you may have to brush it off to make sure that it keeps working efficiently every once in a while. And every once in a while means maybe twice a year in a bad situation, once a year in a good situation. That is my recommendation, and I hope you guys can follow that. As far as pitch goes, you can go all the way up to a 12-16 pitch where it's straight up and down, like a mansard roof. Those I do recommend putting in flat, because the water's coming straight down. So obviously you're using your judgment on angles, but just for rule of thumb, ideal angle is between 11 and 19 degrees. Next slide. These are obviously just examples of different pitches of roofs and what to look for. You'll see that the 412 pitch is a pretty low pitch. Lots of people put the flat wing on 512 pitch and it's fine. You put that on a metal roof, it might have a little bit of skip off. So just FYI. Standing seam, especially because the water's skirting off much quicker on a standing seam roof than it is on say a corrugated. Next one. This is just a picture of a flat wing install. Obviously, those raised screen design is for siphoning, the siphoning effect, and to shed debris easier. You'll notice the roof granules on that. So whenever you're putting these guards on, you're going to notice roof granules that are going to fall onto them almost the same day, because these things shed so well. There's one item that people have been using out there is it's a roof sealant that's called roof rejuvenation. You can spray the roofs, and it's another service that you would provide. Maybe partner with one of those people that are doing that, and it will lock those roof granules in, and they won't have roof granules coming onto their decks and onto their furniture anymore. And the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people have patio furniture underneath their eave. And so once you put a gutter guard on, all that debris that was going to be in the gutter is now on the deck. And so if your patio furniture is under there, obviously it's going to be on the patio furniture. And so just common sense stuff that we try to point out and take a look at, things that you might overlook while you're out there selling these things. That sometimes we need to take a look at those items so that we don't disappoint the customer down the road. They don't call you and say, "Hey, my chair's stained." So just FYI on that. Next slide. This is a example of a bent wing. You'll notice that one is still pitched pretty well. It's got about 11-degree pitch. It's mounted to the back of the fascia. I had plenty of clearance underneath. That is a flat roof. So that's going to be the ideal way to put that in. The one mistake I see on this picture, which is a customer sent me this, is that you'll see the sealant on the seam comes out past the frame. Never do that. What happens is water will gather on either side of that sealant and it'll cause a steady drip. So always stop. If you're going to put a sealant in the seam because you left a gap during your pressure seal, it just wasn't enough. Just make sure you stop before you get to the frame. Leave that frame open, because that water won't accumulate there. It'll drop back in. Most of the gutter lips that are on these gutters have a little bit of a drawback, so it'll make sure that doesn't siphon out. When you're doing an inside measurement, really important. Make sure that you're doing from the inside lip of the gutter to the back of the gutter. Again, there's a 1/2-inch clearance on the back side you need at minimum to do a bent wing properly. If you can't do that and it sits backwards, you have a big problem. You're going to get a call back. Now, I've seen guys put them in like that and they're tilting backwards a little bit, and they get away with it once in a while. But for the most part, you're going to get a call back and maybe have roof damage. And so don't do that. Don't do that. Obviously, we have different types of gutters out there we're running into. We have K-style, fascia style, half rounds, commercial box gutters. So whenever you're doing your inside measurement, you can pretty much rest assured if it's a fascia style gutter, as long as they use the proper size hangers, you're at 4.5 inches inside measurement, and so they're gonna automatically you're gonna automatically know what size you need. You can pretty much use a 5-inch gutter guard on any size fascia gutter. And for those of you that are new, the fascia gutter isn't very popular on the East Coast, but it is on the West Coast. So when I'm talking about it, if you're not familiar with the fascia gutter is measured from top to bottom. When they talk 7-inch fascia, it means it's a 7-inch deep gutter, whereas a K-style is the width of the top of the gutter or the opening. Half round is always measured by the opening, and so is commercial box. So just heads up on that. If you're ever measuring an inside measurement or you're not sure, it doesn't look right to you, just get an inside measurement. Do yourself a favor. And if we got to do a custom cut, we can. We can make custom cuts for just about everything you do out there. If you run into something, I think the smallest we can go is 3 3/4, unless you use a railed product, which is probably our drop-down product, Defender gutter guard, or leaf blocker is what we're calling it now. So we have, that's something else I just wanted to bring up to you real quick. Leaf Defender and leaf blocker are the same product, except the leaf Defender is a lower gauge wire. That one is being discontinued as well. We're moving that to the higher gauge wire and calling it Leaf Blocker or Leaf Defender Pro, which you may have seen in that email I sent out as well. So if you need that product, obviously you're asking for Leaf Defender, and I will clarify over the phone when you place those orders, or if you email it, I will definitely give you a call to make sure you know what you're getting, because we want to make sure that you're getting the right thing. Next slide. This is a custom gutter guard form. I send this out to people so that they can just write in the size once they do their custom measurement, because my guys out in the warehouse, they go by inside measurement only. If I try to give them an overall measurement, they aren't going to get it. They're gonna give you the wrong size. So let's make sure we write an inside measurement and fill out one of these custom forms. You should have a copy of it in your email. I've sent them out before, but if you don't have one, let me know and I will get them sent out. Obviously, when you're doing an inside measurement, this is how you're doing it. This is a standing seam metal roof. Looks like an 8/12 pitch. He's going underneath the paneling there, but not below the drip edge, the kick out. Obviously, that's going to be a better install if he goes above it. If you go below it, you're going to have a big problem. Now, you see that bolt behind the edge there. You will have to cut around those bolts with on the back side of the gutter guard, or you have to loosen them and tighten them back in. So it's a pretty easy install, but obviously there's going to be some caveats depending on the roof. This is an installation video. I just want to go through it real quick. You're not going to hear the volume. I'm going to just narrate through this, what this is. This is a straight wing install. What he's doing here, he's folding those tabs under. What I like to do is cut them off, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. And he's setting the seam there. That's a pressure seam, obviously. That's a bent wing product. And you'll notice there's a nice clean pressure seam there. That you don't need to caulk that. This guy that's doing the video does caulk it, but it's not necessary. You see how he stopped before the frame? I don't even like the fact that it's touching the frame. So even in my own video, I don't like that. I would prefer you not touch the frame, because once you start touching the front of the frame, water likes to find its way out the front. So I try to keep it back off the frame. I'm going to go to camera real quick. Just a moment. Am I on camera? I don't see it up here. So this is what you want your piece to look like. You'll notice it's nice and clean. I've trimmed all the frays off the edges. The more frays you have in there, the more chances you are of getting a drip. And so you want to make sure that you cut all those frays off away from the frame. Doesn't matter as much on the back as it does on the front. So even this one is too close. I would cut this back even a little further, and I'll give you an idea what that looks like. I don't like the tab on the side touching the frame at all. It makes for, and you'll notice right there, it's a little bit off the frame. That's not going to drip. Anything else has a potential to, but may not. So this means it'll 100% not drip. All right, let's go to the next. This is just another install, standing seam, bent wing product installed properly on a roof. Next one. Here's a seam. Again, that caulking is in the wrong spot. You'll notice there's a little hole in the middle there. That is okay. I want that to be left alone. I don't want you to drag your finger down the middle of that caulking, and the reason why is you create a little gully, and water likes to travel down that little gully in the shape of the tip of your finger. So even if you have a glove on, it makes it move water in the direction you don't want it to. So just a natural bead is what you want there. And again, don't put the caulking all the way out into the seam there like this guy did. This is an example of a perfect seam. You'll see it's raised up a little bit, but I'm fine with that. That's gonna work great. It's gonna work fine. You're not gonna have any problems with a seam that's built like that. Obviously, mounting is important. Not sure why I threw that picture in there. This is another angle of that 812 pitch. This one was we did it a little flatter because of the speed of the water. The gutter, in many cases, in these metal roofs, these standing seams are going to have gutters that are above the roof line, and I'm sure you've seen them out there because the water's moving so fast it's going to hit the inside of the outside part of the gutter. What I mean by that is it's coming out, and it's, instead of going over the top of the gutter, they've got the gutter raised up so that it hits the inside wall on the outside part of the gutter, and then it keeps the water inside. So if you're in that situation, you need to take that into consideration when you're selling a gutter guard. Is this going to work? If I lower this gutter and put a gutter guard on it, is it still going to catch the water? Another install. This is another install. This is the flat wing. I thought the first one was flat wing, but I got that wrong. So basically the same thing. I don't like folding the tabs down like this gentleman does. Folding the tabs down is fine. Some people do it, but I prefer to cut them off like I showed you in that previous section. But as far as the seam goes, that's a perfect seam. You don't need to caulk it. I wouldn't go any further other than mounting it at that point. That's a nice clean mount, and you'll notice there's no frays on that middle piece right there in between. This is just an alternative method to doing the seam. This is what I do, except I cut that all the way off. And that's an overlap. So my bad, that's not what I do. I do a fold, but I cut the tabs off. So mine would be the third alternative. This is this one is great, except for you'll see those frays in between the guard there. They're probably gonna get a drip there because there's too many frays. You need to clip those back. This is a great example of a clean outside corner, and we'll talk about the outside corner here in just a second. This is actually my brother's house. I did his house about 7 years ago. And this is a not a recent picture, but pretty recent of the install. Gutter guards are obviously still in great shape, still doing their job. Same, this is an outside corner. That's the charcoal after a few years. This is the installation of a pre-cut miter for the bent wing. So if you're out there and you want a pre-cut miter, we can do these types of pre-cuts for you. This is an inside miter. I recommend our high flow inside miter for this. We'll get into that. Again, he's taking the caulk way too far. He's gonna get a drip there. And that's actually on this display. So this was before I came back to Valor, or I would have stopped him. This is a high flow inside corner. This is obviously in copper. We do have copper for all of you who use or run into copper out there. They're using diverters on the lower rung here. You can do that. It doesn't tend to work very well if that's all you do. On these metal flanges with that triangle, those flashings that go up the inside corner of a house, you have fast moving water. And there's a reason why we put splash guards and things like that on. I've got a remedy to that situation that's going to come out sometime this year. That's all I can share about it. But right now we're using diverters. We'll use that particular diverter. In fact, I'll have him move the camera over here in just a second to take a look at how we set those diverters for those inside corners to make them work properly. This is one obviously installed, and another one installed on the back side of the same house. And this, yeah, obviously that's another one. So let's stop right there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the installation portion from a live standpoint, so I can kind of show you a few tips and tricks that we like to do. Go ahead and move that camera over here to the angle we need. So on the high flow inside corner, whether it's bent wing or flat wing, they're going to show up like this. They're going to show up like this, and you're going to trim this piece off to fit around the gutter. So if you're going underneath the shingle, I just trim the point off so that it's nice and clean, and then I can slide it underneath. You're going to cut this to fit to the gutter right here on the side. So I usually mark it and give it a little cut this way. And I'll show you what that looks like here. So once it's cut, it's gonna look a lot like this. And then you'll go underneath the shingle with it. That'll be the part that goes underneath the shingle, and then this fits down into the gutter so that it's nice and clean, as you see here on the bottom. Or in this valley here. Now, on this particular house, if I were to put a hose on here and run water, the water actually comes down and goes right over the top of this. It goes right onto the ground. And if you can see here, there's water stain and stuff where we've done some testing before. And what we do with the diverters, well, let me finish what I'm talking about here. So on these inside corners, this is to go underneath the shingle. Obviously, this is the way you would cut it. If you were cutting it to fit like a bent wing, then you're going to cut it a little bit shorter so that it fits exactly how you want it to in the back. What I normally do is I'll pop a couple screws underneath either side in the drip edge with a little bit of caulking, and then I'll caulk the back edge so that it sits nice and clean in the gutter. It's going to give you a lot more high flow. Obviously, this is the same as the 16 mesh, except it's a much bigger gauge wire, and because of that, it gives it rigidity. And because the wire has a larger diameter, it closes those holes enough to keep those pine needles and things out. So it works more efficiently. So a much more rigid screen. So those are really easy to put in. They're really inexpensive. It's worth it to if you have a high flow area, to preemptively put them there. With the diverters, these are our diverters. You've seen them in packs. We use them as end caps as well. These diverters are placed underneath the shingle down here at the bottom. What I like to do is I put three sets, and usually they're 2 feet apart, but I didn't want to climb on the roof today, so I just wanted to give you an example. The reason why we put 3 sets there is because if you put one set here, you're going to get a ramping. The water's going to come down, hit this, and it's going to want to jump over the gutter. You put a second one in, you get the jump, but it hits this one. It's slow enough now that it'll go in, but you still see that waterfall coming over the top. If you put another one up there, then it stops. And what the reason it does that is because the water will come down, it'll be diverted out, but it'll cascade right back to the center. So each time you have to keep putting it, you have to put another diverter down here. So as it cascades to the center and then to the center again. And then finally at the bottom, it's slow enough that it's collecting that water. So again, I'll have that this whole situation remedied by the end of the year, and you'll have a product that'll work best for you. Right with the inside or the outside corner, which we're going to back up to, which we were just talking about, they come pre-made. Grab the other piece and a strip. So these come with a finishing strip. If you buy a pre-cut one, I would buy pre-cuts for all my outsides because they're nice and clean. You don't need to trim them up. They leave plenty of room for the install. You would simply just mount it like you would the regular bent wing. Sorry, I keep popping out. And then you would put a seam cover over the top of it to make it look nice and clean. Very easy to do once it's already cut. If you're out there on a house and you don't want to be running around with a chop saw or cutting pieces, you just want to assemble it and just make some straight cuts with a grinder, you're able to do that if you buy pre-cuts. Now with the inside pre-cut corners, again, I don't recommend them, but some guys like to use them. It's really dealer's choice on that. So what I think will happen is on the pre-cuts, unless it's a real low pitch on an inside corner, you're probably going to get a call back. The high flow is just the best way to go, in my opinion. So let's go to, I know I'm moving kind of fast. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm going to move to seam prep and just go over it one last time so you can see it in action. So I'm basically taking a seam that hasn't been cut, and I'm cutting these tabs off, and you'll see I'm cutting out away from the frame. Now see all that extra you see all that extra mesh I left on there right here? You want to trim that off. And get it as close as possible. These little frays, you got to get them. You will get a call back if you leave frays there. Now I say that with a grain of salt. You might not get a call back, but it's less likely that you're gonna if you do it right the first time. Obviously, we've all had that test from our parents when we were growing up. Do it right the first time. So that's how you want it. You don't necessarily have to round this. I like to cut that little tip off there so that it bends down nice and clean. When you bend it, what you're trying to do here is bend it out a little bit. Bend it out a little bit away from the frame. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you just want it so that when you press it together, it creates that pressure seal when you press up against it. It may dip down or push up depending on what it does, but you just rub your hand right across it and it'll flatten out for you. These are probably the easiest ones to install if you prep the gutter guard properly. All right. So we've done the bent wing install. As far as a end cap, let me just throw an end cap in right quick. Show you what I mean. It's a flat product. Bring that around. Hang on. Sorry, we don't have one of those super high-speed cameras that follow you wherever you go yet. Or the GoPro helmet. So a lot of guys will leave they'll leave a little bit of screen on the end and create a kind of a little makeshift end cap with the screen. That's okay as long as there's no gaps. What you're really trying to do is prevent the rodents and things like that getting in the gutter. You don't want them crawling in there and making a home. Bird nests, things like that. You want to be able to cover that. So again, we take if you take a diverter, even on a flat wing, you can pretty much cover most of the edge with a diverter. However, I do have flat stock that you can cut to fit. What I normally do is I'll trim this off right here. I'll trim this off right here so that it's nice and straight. And then it'll fit nice and clean up against the back side of the gutter. And then you simply mount it to the front. Obviously, you'll cut this to fit in the front. Some guys like to caulk it here. I don't like to, just because water likes to collect and run down that edge. But if you do put caulk, I would put it underneath so to stick it down and make it stay better. Some guys will go through the side for mounting if they're down below the gutter edge. But again, I don't like putting a hole in the gutter cap. I usually just go down through the top. There's a couple ways to do it. You can also cut this edge off here so that there's no edge overlapping onto the screen as well. That one I would put caulking all the way down, but not to the screen. There's several different ways to do it. We'll look at that. I've got pictures of them that we'll look at here in just a second. So basically, that's kind of the gist of all of this. The gutter guard installations, those caveats, if you make sure you take care of those three things, the corners, the seams, and the inside corners, you're going to have a much better situation as far as your installation goes. You're not going to get those callbacks that we're talking about. And now that you're not looking at the feet. So do I have any questions up to this point? Anybody have any questions or things they've run into that might be problems they've run into in the past? Anyone? No? Okay. So as far as training goes, that's really all I wanted to talk about today and get you just kind of educated. You can call me if you have any questions. Manuel's going to put my name and number on here. You just feel free to give me a call. My phone's always open. I'm always answering my phone. If I don't answer, it's because I'm on the other line with someone else. We can talk about pricing. We can talk about the Defender product. If you have those colors that you like that are going to be discontinued, let me know, and we'll get to working on making sure you get some of that so that you have it. And then the larger mesh, if you like the larger mesh, you don't have the pine needle debris or the smaller debris on homes that you do, maybe we can talk about how we can get you taken care of for that as well. As far as training goes, that's really all I wanted to talk about today and get you just kind of educated. You can call me if you have any questions. Manuel's going to put my name and number on here. You just feel free to give me a call. My phone's always open. I'm always answering my phone. If I don't answer, it's because I'm on the other line with someone else. We can talk about pricing. We can talk about the Defender product. If you have those colors that you like that are going to be discontinued, let me know, and we'll get to working on making sure you get some of that so that you have it. And then the larger mesh, if you like the larger mesh, you don't have the pine needle debris or the smaller debris on homes that you do, maybe we can talk about how we can get you taken care of for that as well.